Welcome to another episode of Natural Mojo. My name is Pamela Sylvan, and I'm your host today. And I'm thrilled to come back to have another enlightening conversation around that really special and interesting time of our life called midlife. It's a passageway of sorts that we rarely talk about. And I find that to be a shame because to me, and maybe to a lot of you as well, it's a time where we arrive at a particular place in life and we hold so much good stuff that no one really points to. We've gathered along the way and we arrive at a place and we really don't know what to do. So, this show, Natural Mojo, encompasses a lot of that conversation. And soon I will be bringing a particular podcast that speaks specifically to this beautiful time of life for women and men too, called Not Your Mama's Midlife. So, stay tuned for that launch, okay? So, today I want to talk about vibrancy. Vibrancy is something that in midlife I noticed. Maybe you haven't had this happen to you, but I noticed things have happened to me and changes have occurred that has dimmed the light on my vibrancy. And perhaps you find yourself going through the same type of changes. So, first, before I talk about what we can do to bring up our vibrancy levels, let's talk about the things that probably get in the way of vibrancy. And the first thing that blocks vibrancy or decreases vibrancy for us in our midlife is hormonal changes. And ladies, we don't have to go into too much about that. You know exactly what I mean. Our estrogen takes a dive, our mood swings kick in, we are more fatigued. So there are a lot of changes going on below our awareness that takes us down in a lot of cases. And our skin changes, everything about us starts to shift, and the gray hair will start to kick in, and maybe some lines, and I'll call them lifelines, start to deepen on us. And we get scared because we stopped recognizing ourselves in a lot of ways. So that's one of the things that we don't like to talk about. We call it the big M, the mysterious M. And I've always wondered, why do we put such an emphasis on this? It's a natural occurrence. It's not something we went and shopped for and picked up and scurried away into a dark corner somewhere. It's a natural course of life, yet we treat it with such shame and secrecy at times. All right, so that's the first. The second one is life changes. Life changes. We're aging, and if we have children, they're aging too, and our children grow up and they leave the nest and they go off and they create their own lives. They graduate from school and they get a job and they maybe purchase their first home and get married and all of these things, or whatever it is, combination of things they choose to do. They might want to trek across the Arctic Circle, whatever it is. They're no longer there. They have their own sense of agency now. You're not responsible for their life in that way anymore. You get to enjoy life with them, but they're making their own choices. And maybe career changes. Maybe you've retired from your primary job, or you've changed jobs, or maybe you're going back to school. I mean, there's so many changes that you can bring into this second or third part of your life. Now, the third thing that gets in the way of our vibrancy at times is societal pressure. Societal pressure, about, what we should look like. We should look younger. We should look perkier. Or perhaps we should be more successful, or we should be more grandmotherly, or whatever. I mean, there's just so many definitions of what women in different cultures need to be at this time of our life. And we don't know which story or which narrative that we need to be following because we haven't tuned into ourselves yet. We're too busy trying to sleep through the night, right? And that brings us into the next point that can detract from our level of vibrancy. And lifestyle factors such as, like I said, lack of sleep. I'm having trouble sleeping right now. A lot of it has to do with nighttime sweats. I fall asleep quite well, and then boom, 2 hours later I'm up because I'm like, the gates of hell have just opened up and I'm just struggling to keep cool. And there's so many things like that. So, those four issues, and I'm sure there are more, but those four are very common to us women, and we struggle to keep our sense of vibrancy up. So while the world is wanting us to be these wonderful, happy-go-lucky, bright lights out there, you're trying to operate on deficient sleep. If I get 4 good hours a night, I'm happy. Your estrogen levels are dropping, your mood's off, you're all of a sudden might find yourself alone. I mean, there's just so many different factors. So today, let's talk about at least 5 ways that we can take responsibility for the vibrancy in our lives. And you may not want to or need to apply all five, but there's something to consider, and you might consider other things too that you might want to put into your recipe to get your life flowing at this point in life. Okay? The first one is recognize that you have more space in your life. This is the time of life, and this is not just about women, but we all get to this point in our life where we start to lose more than we gain. Remember that time in your life when all of a sudden all of your friends were getting married and they were having babies and everybody was, graduating from school, or everybody was getting that first job, or everybody was buying that first home. There was this gathering of and accumulation of and moving on and all kinds of happy things. Now you get to this point in our life and we start losing things and catastrophes start to happen. When the phone rings, it's like, oh, I wonder what the news is about today. Who has left us today? It's one catastrophe after the other, it seems like on some days. Maybe you get a diagnosis that sort of takes you into a place where all of a sudden you realize that your time here on earth is something to think about, right? And I've heard that from a lot of people and a lot of friends. I've experienced it with family members too that got that news and are no longer here with us. So, that gets in the way. But, I also want to preface that sense of loss with another realization. That when these things are moving away from you, not so much your health, but when other things are moving away from you, space is now made. You now have space for other things to come in. And life abhors a vacuum, right? So when your kids are gone off and doing their life, there's room now for you to take on some new projects, some new interests, travel more, maybe write your book or legacy or memoirs, there's just space now. Before, remember when we couldn't do things or we couldn't go places because it was about the kids, and when the kids graduated or when the kids grew up, well, they've done those things. Now you have time. Now you have the space. So even though the life changes or the life losses might seem quite catastrophic at the time, and I don't want to detract from those moments, I've experienced them too. I've had losses in my life too. But after the emotional piece lessens and time has passed by, you'll recognize, hey, I have some space, finally, to do some things I've always wanted to do. And that's one of the things I'm doing right now, is that I've recognized that I've passed through my messy middle, meaning that my daughter and my mother, they're no longer these huge concerns that I've had in the past. I now have time for me, to work on me, to do more healing work on me, to do some things that interest me, to travel more, to write more. There's just time now for me. So consider that, all right? Look at how you can utilize the space that has been opened up before you. That really is the true magic of midlife. You can start shining the light back on you, because especially as women, we're such nurturers. That light was always shining on other people and we were dwindling the whole time. So we need some work at this point to ratchet up that vibrancy within us, okay? So number 2 is, what is the identity that you're not traveling with? Maybe you have lost your spouse or your primary partner. So the identity of wife or partner is no longer the moniker that you have for yourself. Or mother full time, because your kids have gone off, like I said. So what is the new identity? This is a great time to encompass a new identity for yourself, and it takes asking yourself some new questions. What if questions, the questions that really hone in on who you want to be and where you want to go next, and getting to the underside of you, your underbelly, I like to call it, because you spent most of our time working so hard, we haven't had time to really investigate the entirety of our being. So now is a good time, while the space has opened up for you, now is a good time to identify who you are and who you want to be. Okay, so let's move into numbers. Number 3 is about community, and we talk about that a lot these days. We hear that a lot these days, but there's a reason for that. We are not meant to travel through this lifespan alone, whether you're in a intimate relationship with another, or it's just a group of you who get together for tea or for walks or to travel together. There's a reason for that. We get to bounce our ideas and our thoughts off of each other, and you'd be surprised that the minute you start sharing a thought or an idea, there's somebody there that can help you connect those particular thoughts to an even larger picture or a larger group, because everybody has their own circle of connection and connectivity. So when you get into a community, the community is powerful. The community is there for you. The community can help you grow. The community can help you expand on your thoughts and not your ideas, and they can help find what it is that you need. So if you don't have a community or you can't find a community, create community for yourself. Don't wait and say, oh, I can't find a community. You're a community of one. Go find another. There are people that are waiting for you to show up so they can be your other. We're always waiting for things to happen. Make something happen. Build out your community. Build out your source and sense of belonging. Belong to you first. This is the time and space for you to build on your identity and to ask those excavating questions with what if. And just to talk about that what if for a second, right here I have a guide, and it's a free download that helps you with those questions, all right? And after you get on that list, I keep sending you prompt questions 1 a week to help you continue answering these things for yourself. But as I said, get to know yourself and then go find the other. There are people waiting for you to show up to build a strong and vibrant community. And the last one I want to share with you today is to engage in change and celebrate. I'll even probably parcel those two off into their own separate subsets. Engage in change. Everything that I've talked about previously is about engaging in change. Sitting around waiting for something to happen on your behalf is not how things occur. Things don't drop into our lap, and as we age, the younger set, they're busy doing their own thing. So at this stage of our life, we really have to take it upon ourselves. And ladies, and I know maybe there might be a few men watching this, but I want to speak specifically to ladies because, again, we find ourselves in a place where we might think that life has shelved us. We're on the shelf. Our sense of sensuality and sexuality has diminished in people's eyes. We're no longer in baby making mode. So what good are we? Well, there's a lot that's still good about us. That's always been good about us, but we just haven't opened our eyes to it. Now is that time. Engage in the change that you want to become. Work towards your future self. Do you want to be healthier? Do you want to be happier? Because happier is a choice. Happy is a choice, right? A lot of people think, well, I'll wait to be happy. No, happy will never occur unless you do things for happiness to occur. When I wake up in the morning, the first thing I look for is, what will today be like? How can I make today be the best day for me? I always work in 24-hour blocks because I don't know what tomorrow will bring, and I don't know if there will be a tomorrow. So it's 24 hours I've got. And in that 24 hours, what can I bring out of that? What can I contribute to it for myself and other people that will bring happiness and that feeling of joy? The feeling of joy comes when I'm fully engaged in my life and I'm doing things to elicit those feelings, those up-leveled feelings. Okay? Look, sitting around looking and reading at all the pessimistic, negative things that is floating around you, that's easy to do. That's low-level activity. That's easy. You're just sitting there absorbing what everybody else is throwing at you. Engaging in your life for those extreme feelings of happiness and joy, that's on you. So if you're not there, and I'm not talking about people that have issues around depression and things like that, but for you who you're not dealing with those things, it's on you to go out there and to make those things happen on your own behalf. And of course, celebrate. I celebrate every day, and I'm not talking balloons and champagne. I'm talking about gratitude. I celebrate that I opened my eyes today, and I have one more day to spiral up my vibrancy and to live my life and to lean into my life and to get in there and do things and to think and to write things down. Write down what you want. I know you hear that a lot. It's become a very ubiquitous term, but there's a reason for it. It works. Most people just poo-poo things and let it go. Oh, it's too simple. It's the simple things that are the most powerful at times. Write down what you want. Visualize. Claim things. Tell yourself you're beautiful. Tell yourself you're powerful. Tell yourself you're resilient. Tell yourself you matter. Tell yourself you're worth it. Tell yourself what you need to tell yourself. You are listening to you. But right now, you're probably too busy listening to these societal messages that tell you you're no longer worthy, you no longer matter, you're invisible, you're a burden, you're too old, all of these things, and you believe it. And so you act it. Act the stories that you bought into and the stories that you believe. So I'm here as Pamela, the Mojo Maker, to tell you you have a choice. At any moment, you can pivot and change your mind and practice changing your mind every single day. You don't just do it once and that you're good to go. Right? You're going to slip and you're going to backslide and things are going to get in your way and your attention is going to get hooked away from your purpose. So everyday practice the beauty that resides within you. And I'll leave it here for today because it's a lot to think about. But, vibrancy is a magical quality. People are attracted to people who are vibrant, not necessarily your age. We believe it's age because younger bodies and younger people have an enormous amount of vibrancy running through them just because of their age. But we don't have to lose it, right? It's up to you to learn how to continue using and pivoting towards your own vibrancy each and every single day. All right. So I want you to visit me at mojoresources.ca, and there you'll find the what if questions and get into the Mojo Maker community because I'm going to keep talking about how to raise your level of vibrancy. It's the one thing that you truly need to do for yourself. It's what will make your world pop. All right. So thank you for listening today, and I'll see you again next week. Have a vibrant and magical day. Bye bye.